Hi, my name is Tara and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the different vibrational elevations of your emotion. I talk about this a lot. I have a tendency to go off in tangents and discuss how you're rating in different vibrational frequencies, and today I want to give you a general understanding of what they are and where you reign and how to vibe, so that we can go through all of the different emotions, the live to ultimate consciousness, how to get to spiritual enlightenment, and where those emotional vibrational frequencies happen. Where does the magic happen? Where does spiritual enlightenment happen? It happens when you get to a place of acceptance and neutrality. Once you can get to acceptance and neutrality, then the world opens up for you. Now, we are in a physical realm where we have a lot of negativity being thrown at us all the time. And it's how we field it, what we do with it, how we eliminate it, how we process it, that helps us to get to our spiritual enlightenment, to our spiritual awareness. Now let's start and begin. If you haven't checked out my website yet, please do so. Thevibrationalelevation.com bring you some more information about who I am, some of the services that I provide. It will grow as I grow. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button down below. Share me with your friends. YouTube likes to see a lot of interactive content. So we have the Alpha and we have the Omega. Now we know that the Omega is the enlightened one. God or Goddess, the divine creator, whatever you choose to call the oneness, the source, the Christ consciousness. There are so many names, Buddha, just so many names that people have given them throughout the various different religions throughout the world. I refer to the Omega as my divine creator, as my one consciousness, my one awareness, my universal consciousness. Because that's what it really is the ultimate consciousness is the universal consciousness. And the universal consciousness is where we all want to be. That's the other side. That's where we are when we return to source, when we unite our souls back to the other realm, and we are no longer a piece of this physical realm here on earth anymore. Okay, when we are born into this world, we are spiritually asleep. We have come in from here. This is where we were when we were on the other side, okay? We were in complete 100% ultimate consciousness and universal consciousness in enlightenment with the Omega, the divine source. What we have done is we've incarnated and we've gone spiritually asleep. So this is where the babies are. They're asleep. Now, that's not to say that when the babies go to sleep at nighttime and they wake up and they're in complete distress and then they quiet themselves down and they look off into the distance, that it's not that they don't reconnect because they're so new. Their bodies are so new at being human that they're still in that spiritual form at night when they go into the etheric and when they go into the astral plane. Consciousness drops back into their bodies and they awaken suddenly and they're shook because they just left the divine love, the divine oneness, the divine universal consciousness. So when they get here, they're like, oh my God, what is going on? I don't feel that divine love energy around me. Even though it's always around us, when we incarnate onto this earth, we forget that. And it's part of a remembrance of who we are. Part of the vibrationalelevation.com is to help us remember who we are, what our spiritual paths and soul's journey is in order to get there. Going back a little bit again, when we come into this consciousness as a baby, we are spiritually asleep. We are at the Alpha because we are still getting ready to learn. We're like a sponge. We're going to absorb it all. All of these emotions here are places that we have to resonate, places that we have to feel, places that we have to experience those emotions in order to get back to the connection of universal consciousness while on this physical earthly plane. Think you can do it? Are you up for the challenge? Do you know how to go about doing it? No, either do I, but we're here to try to do it together, and I'm here to help guide you because my job as a light worker on this plane is to raise the vibration, elevation of universal consciousness in ourselves, in each other, and here on this earth. We have one earth, they're given one earth, we got to take care of her while we can. Mother Gaia, bless you. All right, so going back, we have the babies that are spiritually asleep, okay? And when they realize that they're spiritually asleep, they become frightened. So they're going to start right about here. They're not going to start with grief or shame. These are learned emotions. So anything down under the 100 is going to be learned emotions. These are not divine emotions on this realm through our conscious awareness, through people uniting their feelings and emotions together. We've created the learned emotions of shame, guilt, and grief. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So, ultimate consciousness, expanded conscious awareness, being born, starting at the beginning, alpha, the contracted awareness. We are working our way up. We are trying to get to that universal conscious awareness. We come into this life and we come in, we are crying, we are cold, we are naked, we are alone, and we are confused. So what are we? We are in fear. Why are we in fear? Because it's unknown. We have just left the divine consciousness. We have just left the connection to the universal source. We have just left that oneness of love, that divineness of love. When Bob Marley was talking about love is his religion and the one heartbeat, one universal consciousness, this is what he's talking about, okay? This chart is what he's talking about, which, as a matter of fact, Bob Marley and his music will vibrate at 432 frequencies megahertz, okay? And there's a reason for that, and that's gonna probably go into a video all on its own, but we'll go back to where we are right now. So we are coming into this as a baby, right here, spiritually asleep, in fear and apathy. We've made our decision that we are going to incarnate into this earth to go through the emotional range and spectrum to get back to conscious connection of the ultimate consciousness of the enlightenment of the Omega, of the divine source, of the creator. We start our journey, we go through the emotions, we're scared, we have disconnected, we are learning now where trust comes in. Trust is going to come in somewhere right here, and that's when we learn to make those mother and father connections. And those mother and father connections are going to give us security. Help us to get to a place of love, because love is where the enlightenment opens up. Love is where you start to vibrate higher. A good vibrational frequency to be in at 540, okay? So we come in and we're at 100. We're not at neutrality, we're at 100. We're going to work our way up to neutrality. So we're going to go first, well, we don't really as babies go through a feeling of anger. That learns through disappointment. So this is 2, we'll put that in a learned emotion, is anger, because we're not born with anger. That's not a frequency that we come in on tuned into. However, we do come in with a desire. That desire to learn. The desire to learn who we are. And who are we? We are one consciousness with the enlightenment, with the divine source. Do you see how it's all connected? Do you see how all of these emotions are going to bring us to where we want to get to, our connection on how we get there? And so many times people ask me, well, how do I get to this point when XYZ has happened to me? How do I get to this point of awareness and acceptance and love and vibrational frequency of a higher self when I've had so many disappointments and hurts? First, get to acceptance, okay? Before we could even get to acceptance, in order to start opening up as a baby, as somebody that may have been pushed back because of emotional traumas or experiences, and we have to go back to the bottom and start our rise again, it's okay. It's an automatic reset. We get to start from scratch. We learn these emotions over again. We will get there. Each one of us will rise to our universal divine consciousness when we're ready. It's not a race. We are not in competition with each other to try to get there faster. We are there to be there to help each other to get there, to open up our spiritual awareness to people so that they can get there too, and to rise the vibrational frequency of each other, to rise the vibrational frequency of Mother Gaia. As a matter of fact, so many people are coming to their spiritual awakening and their spiritual awareness at the Schumann resonance is picking up on it. What is the Schumann resonance? The Schumann resonance is the heartbeat of the earth, the heartbeat of Mother Gaia. It measures how much energy changes here on earth. And what they're seeing on the Schumann resonance is that it's starting to lift, that it's starting to enlighten, that it's showing that more and more people are turning into this energy. So here we are, back to babies, back to fear, back to being spiritually asleep. They're not going to go through the emotion of anger because that's a learned emotion. So we're going to take that out of the baby steps. But they do have a desire to learn more, and that's going to bring them to trust with mother and father, and that's going to give them the security blanket. That's going to give them their base foundation. That's going to give them where their life is going to go from there based on indoctrinated values, based on what they've been told, based on the beliefs that they're going to be brought up with that are going to be cooed into their heads that may not be who they are when they arrive, but it is who they are right now because it's being programmed into their head. So we go through, we get to trust, we go to mother and father. Mother and father then teach us pride. They teach us to take pride in our sense of self looks, in our environment, in our appearance, in keeping it clean, looking presentable. When you do something that you're acknowledged for, that makes you feel good, that you've done something well, you've achieved, you've had a success, they teach you to be prideful, okay? And notice, pride is on the rise to get to neutrality. And neutrality is where it all begins. Neutrality is where the spiritual journey begins, okay? So mother and father teach us pride. When we get up here into universal consciousness and enlightenment, we learn to dismiss our pride. But as we're going through the journey and we're rising upwards, pride is an emotional state that we have got to connect with. That is one of the God conscious, Christ conscious, universal conscious emotions that we have got to understand here on our spiritual journey on this earthly realm as a human being in order to ascend to the next level. Okay, so we got to pride. Now from pride, we go to courage. The courage is going to come because now you had somebody that has gotten a little bit of pride. They've been told that they can do this well. They've succeeded. They've achieved another goal. So now they've got courage to try the next step, to go into the next phase, to try to hit the next goal of life, of a relationship, of school, whatever the situation may be. But you're learning this as a baby. It may be going from crawling to walking. It may be going from sleeping with your parents to sleeping in a bed at night. But all of this comes from your parents teaching you the trust, the pride of being proud of you, and then the courage, okay, that we've discussed are above the fear level, okay? The fear level is a learned emotion, and it takes us away from the enlightenment, from the omega, from the divine source and consciousness. So we've gone through all of these steps as a baby. We get to about the age of, say, 4 to 5 years old, and we're in neutrality. Once we hit the stages of neutrality, we're going to go into school. And in school, we're going to learn all of these other emotions and through life as well. It's a repeat play. It's a repeat performance. It's not going to stop once you graduate high school. It's not going to stop once you graduate from college. And it's not going to stop once you get into the workforce. Yeah, the workforce. But it will stop once you get to the ultimate consciousness of enlightenment. Whether you're going to do it here on this physical earthly realm or whether you're going to do it on the other side in the divine heavenly realm, that's completely up to you. That's not for me to make a decision of. That's up to you on how fast you want to escalate and elevate your own vibrational frequency. All right, so we're now at neutrality. Wow, I've really made a mess of this board, but it's fun to play with a whiteboard. All right, so now we're in neutrality. So now we're going to school and we're going into the willingness of it all, okay? We're willing to learn. We're willing to expand. We're willing to trust and release people other than just mother and father. We're going to go into a willingness, and here is acceptance. And in acceptance, we're getting by. Now, when we're in school, we're getting by. When we're in life, are you just getting by or are you rising to the occasion? I don't know. You know that answer to that question. Acceptance is getting by. Willingness is getting by. It's a little bit above neutrality. Neutrality is where you say, okay, I've got this. I'm going to understand this. I'm going to move forward. I put Bob Marley at 432 here because he tuned his musical frequencies to get in touch with these emotions of reason and joy and trying to get into that love emotion. 432 is a very good vibrational frequency. Bob Dylan, Jim Morrison did it. They did it to help you open up your mind, to help you elevate and awaken your spiritual aspects of self, because they got this. They understood this code. This is all a code. The universe doesn't speak English. The universe doesn't speak Spanish. It speaks vibrational frequency. And here's the translation key, okay? Once you get to a place of joy and love, because you've gone through acceptance and reasoning is also an understanding, right? Reasoning, understanding. Once you get to those places, you've begun to understand that it's not all about you. Life is about something bigger. Life is a blessing to be lived, to go through for I don't know what reason. We'll find out about what reason, but we know that we're working on something, and it's bigger than all of these energies down here, right? We know that at this point, acceptance, love, and joy, and reasoning, that there's a better feeling than what we've been through down here. And we've risen, and we've risen, and we've risen. Now we're going through the flow. Now we're going through the flow of emotions. We're understanding the emotions. We're getting more in tune with what our bodies feel like while we're going through those emotions, because we know that when we are feeling things like fear or anger, we've learned anger. We didn't really talk about grief, shame, and anger at this point because those were learned emotions and we're learning about the spiritual elevation. We'll get to those in a few moments, I suppose. But now we know that there's better feelings to us than these down here. So we get to love. We get to a place of flow, joy, and love, where we're accepting, understanding, and looking for the beauty in things. We're looking to try to find a higher learning. We're looking to expand our own awareness and our own consciousness, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. This is where we start to come into some tune. We might see some synchronicities that happen to us that make us open up our eyes. We might start seeing more and more numbers appear, like 1111 or 444 or 333. Or we might find that every day we find a penny and it's on heads. Different synchronicities are going to start to play a part in our life to make us more in tune with coming to this up here, okay? And the reason that that's going to happen is because now you've left behind those lower vibrational frequencies. You're able to tune into the frequencies of the divine, and they're able to tune into you and start to leave little clues behind. And that's when you start to realize that there's a special form of peace, that when you're reigning above love, I like that, when you're reigning in a vibrational harmony above love, there is a peace in your life, a peace in understanding and accepting things that happen, and a knowingness that not every emotion, not every vibrational frequency that you go through is going to be stagnant, and you're not going to be stuck there forever. A lot of people, they get emotionally attached to the vibrational frequency that they're in, and they continue to stay there, and they don't let the ebb and flow happen of moving on through different energy levels, through different emotional levels, etc. So now we're at a place of peace, and there we can find joy. And usually that's about where you're going to cut off as a human that is breathing and functioning at the peace and the joy. How do you get from peace and joy to ultimate consciousness and universal oneness? Well, I'm not quite there yet. I probably won't ever quite make it there during this lifetime journey, but I could certainly try. I could aspire to it, and so can you. But people like Gandhi are people that can do that. You have the Dalai Lama. These are the people that have reached the enlightened spirituality on earth in the physical contact, because they have realized that these emotions bring them closer to the divine, bring them closer to that feeling of when we left the other side and we came into this incarnation, that feeling of divine love, that feeling of divine oneness, that feeling of divine connection that we leave behind, and we work through our lifetime here on earth to reconnect to that vibrational frequency that we left. And that's why the babies are so sad when they're born, because they have that disconnection of the divine frequency from here, from the human, but not through the soul. The soul is always going to be connected to the divine. So when we expand our conscious awareness and we get up into the areas of joy and peace, that's when we can meet with universal consciousness. And usually, like I said, that's something that happens when we reconnect, when we pass on. But our job and our goal and the reason that we came to this earth is to try to do this here rather than trying to do it when we get to the other side, if you could understand what I'm saying. Anyway, guys, this has been quite the journey. I hope you enjoyed the channel. I hope you're sharing it with your friends. Hit the like and subscribe button. Give me an idea of some things that you would want to see me do. Give me an idea of some topics for discussion that you would like to see talked about on my channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching. It has been a pleasure. Oh, by the way, my daughter has told me that I was too serious before, so now I'm trying to be more of who I am on my Facebook Live. I realize that a lot of you migrated over from Facebook to watch me here on YouTube, and I really do appreciate that. Big shout out. That's very important to me to keep my following and my viewers growing as we grow together through this spiritual journey. And again, thank you so much. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you for watching my channel. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. As always, happiness, light, and love, and I hope that this message has brought some clarity to you.